Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tea with Denise, or Tea with the Fertility Godmother. I am joining you live today so that we can talk about endometriosis and another way of treating it and managing if you have been diagnosed with endometriosis. A lot of people haven't been diagnosed yet, and there is only one way at this time to truly diagnose endometriosis. So we may discuss some of the symptoms. That doesn't necessarily mean that you actually have endometriosis. And you may have endometriosis and not know it. So I think that might be a little confusing, but we can help you out if you have any questions. So if you're joining us live, please be sure to share this, because I'm really passionate about helping women have another option to healthcare. Conventional medicine is awesome when we need it, but it's also really important to have other alternatives that are going to be helpful for you to either treat you or support you in that way. So please, as you join me live, please go ahead and say hello. I'd love to hear from you. And if you have any questions, this is a great place to ask. And if you have any questions when you're not seeing us live, then still feel free to comment below, because we'd love to help you out as much as we can, okay? Or I say we as I work with a team. Okay, so let's just touch base a little bit on what exactly is endometriosis. Endometriosis is when the uterus tissue, there's a lining called the endometrium in the uterus, and what happens is every month you have your menstrual cycle, it sheds, and then you should rebuild and get another one. But when you have endometriosis, that endometrial tissue spreads outside of the uterus. And so it can go into the bowel, it can go even up into the nose and get bloody noses. And what happens is that tissue sometimes gets trapped, and then it causes inflammation and scar tissue, and it can go on down. The biggest symptoms are pain, irregular periods, heavy bleeding, and those are some of the biggest symptoms, is painful. Sometimes you'll have heavy, like dark blood or spotting before your cycle or a long time after. So those can be symptoms. And again, you don't have to have endometriosis to have those symptoms, but a lot of times it is endometriosis. A lot of women are concerned about endometriosis because it can impact your chances of getting pregnant. And so it needs to be taken care of. So there's different degrees of the severity of it. If it's severe, then most of the conventional treatment is either birth control pill or Lupron, so medications, and sometimes there needs to be surgery involved. If it's moderate to mild endometriosis, then usually it's not going to impact your fertility, depending on where it's located. If you have some endometrial tissue in the fallopian tube, then it's going to block that passage. So that would be another issue. But there's tests for that. You can do, if you've been trying to get pregnant, you'll want to do a histosalpingogram or an HSG to see if your tubes are open, and then you'll know that there's no blockage at that point. So anyways, other methods of treating are through acupuncture and Chinese medicine. So I have my background in Chinese medicine. I'm a Chinese medical physician and nutrition. And we've just seen a lot of great care for people with painful periods and endometriosis. And what happens is when you have acupuncture, it increases circulation, it balances out the body, it decreases inflammation. So the symptoms are alleviated. And there are some studies, and honestly, I don't know how great the studies are, but there are some studies that show that the adhesions actually do minimize. So I just like to go by symptoms. So from a Chinese medical point of view, Chinese medicine is a holistic medicine. So we like to look at the whole body. And we look at your signs and symptoms. So when we have women come in with endometriosis and or painful periods, we don't look at it like, oh, she has endometriosis, it's going to fit in this category and we're going to treat it like this. So when you look at the body as a whole, you're also looking at each person as differently and what their signs and symptoms are, so you can manage their case differently. So acupuncture is really great, again, for circulation, inflammation, pain, and getting your body back in balance. Now, if you have severe endometriosis, if you've actually been, you've had the laparoscopy done and they've checked it, then hopefully they removed it at the same time, which is great about that procedure. But the problem with that is it can grow back. So that's where acupuncture and Chinese medicine can help for the severe cases, is to help manage it so it doesn't grow back, and help you if you're trying to get pregnant during that time, help you get pregnant faster, because a lot of times the tissue will grow back. So some things you can do on your own. So again, I really focus on holistic medicine. And if you've been following me, I really, really believe in diet, and as a big proponent of your health and keeping you healthy. So there's some things that you probably want to avoid if you've been actually diagnosed with endometriosis. And that would be soy products. Soy is probably the biggest food you want to avoid. So definitely soy milk, too much tofu, because what happens is it's a phytoestrogen. So it actually blocks the receptors of estrogen, and estrogen builds up in your body. And that'll contribute to more endometrial growth, more inflammation, and of a hormonal imbalance. So that's something you definitely want to avoid. Some things that I always debate how I want to say this here. So red meat, I'm a big proponent of red meat. For endometriosis, it may not be the best. The reason my hesitation is most of the studies were done with people who eat meat, but they're probably corn-fed, not organic beef, because we know that if you have grass-fed beef, the fatty acids in grass-fed beef are like that in olive oil, so they're actually healthy for you. So if you are going to eat red meat, you definitely want to have grass-fed beef. And most of the studies also show that it increased problems if you're people that were eating red meat almost every day. So, if you're eating red meat 2 or 3 times a week and you're eating grass-fed beef, I believe that you'll be okay just because of the chemical components of the food that you're eating. So it's really important not to have just regular conventional meat, unfortunately. The other thing to avoid would be dairy, because dairy makes you kind of congested. Have you ever had a cold and drank some milk and then you get more congested? So in Chinese medicine, we say that it causes congestion, but it actually, in Western medicine as well, it increases inflammation. And with endometriosis being an inflammatory condition, you want to do everything you can to minimize inflammation. And the other thing you would want to avoid would be gluten, or really minimize gluten. I know that there's a lot of people are doing the no gluten these days. Endometriosis is definitely a condition where you'd want to minimize it, if not eliminate it, and make sure that you're choosing high fiber grains and whole grains, avoiding those the white flours and the sugars, because sugar is also inflammatory. So there's another tip you can do. Some foods that you can eat that are anti-inflammatory would be fish, and making sure you're eating enough fish oil, or taking enough fish oil supplement. And then, having curcumin or turmeric and ginger. Those are great ways to decrease inflammation. There's a question here. Are there specific supplements you recommend to keep your body functioning at its best? Yes, there's a lot of supplements I recommend to keep your body functioning at its best, but specifically due to endometriosis, since we're talking about endometriosis, fish oil is going to be one. There's some proteolytic enzymes, which are enzymes that help. So we have enzymes in our body. So for example, you might be more familiar with digestive enzymes to break down our food. We have other enzymes in our body that help break up scar tissue or tissue that shouldn't be there, and they're called proteolytic enzymes. So something over the counter would be like a WOBA enzyme. You can take, that's really helpful. Fish oil, as I said, turmeric and ginger. So you can either buy it at a medicinal grade, or you can even just use like a teaspoon of ginger and turmeric in some hot water, add some honey and maybe some lemon, and you're good to go. Which reminds me of, just eating clean and making sure that you're having a healthy lifestyle. So those are things you can do on your own. And believe it or not, the reason I'm so big on diet is because it's something you can do on your own, and you need to do on your own. It's going to not only improve your fertility, your symptoms of the endometriosis, but your overall health and longevity. And it just makes such a difference in your treatment. So even if you have to go down that conventional pathway of using medicine or doing surgery, or if that's what you choose to, then if you take care of yourself through these other ways, whether it's through acupuncture and Chinese herbs and diet for sure, and some supplements, then not only will it help manage your case, but it'll manage your healing, it'll slow the progression down. And those are really important facts for your health. And I really want you to be healthy and do everything you can so that you can increase your chances of having a baby and also living your life. Endometriosis is, if you actually have endometriosis, it's debilitating. It can be really hard to live with. So those are some tips for you. If you have any questions, please make sure to post them, and please share this video and give me a thumbs up if you found this information helpful. And look forward to seeing you next week. We're going to be talking more about painful periods next week because it's endometriosis month in March. So you can ask me questions again at that point, live at 9 o'clock with Tea with the Fertility Godmother. So please be sure to give me a thumbs up and share this video so we can help people. And here's to your health and to your fertility. Make it a great day.